One. Kumite Radio, episode number 5. Um, this week, there was not much action. So before we get into some of the juicy details of MMA throughout the week, I kind of want to go over some of the events that happened last weekend. The first event was in Osaka, Japan, and there was 2 title fights that went down. The first one was in the welterweight division, and Makoto Made or Mayday, he defeated Tomoya Suzuki for the title in a 5-round war by split decision. So it was a very close fight. In the co-main event, in the 115-pound, which is strawweight, men's strawweight division, Chegu Kang, he triangled his opponent to get the title in the first round at 3 minutes and 28 seconds. The rest of the card, there was one fight in particular that was kind of unique. The reason why is because the guy who fought, his name is Taewon Kim. He is the commentator in Korea for UFC and basically all the international events that go down, and he got a first round TKO at 3 minutes and 49 seconds. So he moves his record to 7 wins with 1 loss, which is pretty damn good for a commentator that trains part-time. Then in Korea, the same night, they had Angels Fighting 3. And on this card, there was about 4 first-round finishes. So if you can go on Facebook and watch some of these fights, because they're pretty exciting. One was a first-round flying knee KO at 55 seconds. Another one was a straight knockout at 35 seconds of the first round by Youngjae Song. And then the main event that everybody was waiting for was the return of Myung-Ho Bae, which is one of the main guys out of Team Mad in South Korea with Stun Gun and the Superboy and all those guys that he trains with. But to be honest with you, he faced a guy that was 15-14 or 15-13 from Japan, Kenta Takagi, and he armbarred him in the first round at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. So Myung-Ho Bae, he returned, right? So George, what do you think about a fighter when they return after kind of a long layoff? Do you think they should be taking, like, especially a fighter that is a very high caliber, because he was the Legend FC welterweight champion, and he's beaten top UFC guys in the past. Do you think that they should take like a fight against a guy that is 15-13? What do you think about that?
It depends on the layoff. I think that, I mean, if they've beaten guys at the top level, then they probably shouldn't take a step back. Depending on like what they're trying to do. If they're trying to get back to the point of where they were beating guys like that, then yeah, I think that they should continue to fight guys of that caliber, because you don't want to fight like a bunch of guys that are UFC caliber, been in the UFC, and then go back and take a fight against a guy who's 15-14.
Yeah, this guy that he fought, he he once they went to the ground, it seemed like he didn't know what to do, and he's lost a bunch of times. And this Myung-Ho Bae, he has a big name. So to be honest with you, he's running out of time, and he should not be fighting guys, I guess, low tier guys, because if he wants to move up, he should be fighting somebody with a name at least, or somebody from a big camp or something like that. I don't know. When I saw the fight, I thought that this was a mistake for him to take such a weak opponent.
Yeah, I think that every fight, like, it's one thing if it depends on like what your goals are in fighting, but if you want to make it into a career, which is really hard, then you have to take the proper fights. Um, But if you're just, you do it because you like to fight and it's not like, you have another source of income and you just like fighting, then that's a different story. You can fight whoever or whenever, but uh, I think most people have the same, at least when they get into fighting, have the same goal. Like they want to do it as a career. So they just don't fight, whoever. Every fight it means something. It's not like fighting Muay Thai or something like that where you can just rock up and fight and it doesn't really matter. Like for MMA, each fight matters. So
All right. So those are kind of some of the results that went down the past weekend. And it wasn't a very busy weekend in MMA at all, especially in Asia. So that's basically what happened. And today, what we're going to talk about is basically just some news that has been going around in the MMA world. And some of the news that we'll talk about will be focused in Asia. What is it? Yeah, we're going to talk about they just announced the Road FC, the final spot that the two fighters are going to fight for the final spot of the top 16 in the tournament. Um, Also, we'll talk about Song Ga-Yeon joining Evolve MMA and and Luke Jumu Jumo,
Jimmo,
yeah,
yeah,
Jumo. He just got signed to the UFC and he'll be fighting on the Auckland card coming up in June. And other news throughout MMA is some like Paige Van Zant, Brian Stann versus Cyborg, Frank Mir wanting to fight in Asia, and then Jackson Winklejohn allowing Julian Wallace, who is not so liked in the MMA community, to train at their camp. So first thing first is the Road F. Oh, also before yeah, so throughout later on in the podcast, we're gonna have some fighters join in, and they're gonna talk about the their situation with Battlefield and that whole thing that's going on with them. So we'll see what happens. Now with the first topic is the Road FC $1 million tournament, and the promotion announcing the final fight, which is Sungyeon Kim versus
he's a
Rafael Fiziev.
he's very very good.
Yeah, he's from Phuket Top Team, right?
Yeah, he's originally from Kyrgyzstan. He's actually Valentina Shevchenko's coach. Pavel was his old coach, like in Kyrgyzstan, and he's kind of like unknown with I guess with MMA. His record's quite low. He's fought in some like lower promotions,
Mm-hmm.
but his as far as his stand up, it's very very good. He fights very high level Muay Thai. Actually, 2 weeks ago, he just knocked out the current Lumpini champion
Mm-hmm.
in Muay Extreme in Bangkok, which is like a Muay Thai promotion that they fight in MMA gloves, and he knocked out the current Lumpini champ in the second round, I think. And he's placed like third or second in the Toyota Cup Marathon, which is a huge tournament, Muay Thai tournament here in Thailand. But he's also, I think, got a pretty strong ground game. He's got 3 or 4 fights on Sherdog, but his actual amount of fights, I think he's had quite a few fights back in Kyrgyzstan, and I think he has like a combat sambo background as well. So
All right. Um, when you look at his record, he's finished all his MMA fights. The last time he fought was at Primal FC.
yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that one? How did he perform in that? Because he iced the dude in the first round.
Yeah, he's his stand up is very good. He's a very good fighter, bro. Like he fights all the time, whether it's Muay Thai or MMA. He is he's always training. He's always fighting. Um, he's good, and he's a finisher. He's not a guy that's gonna like decision people.
He's fighting Sungyeon Kim, right? This is the guy that fought Bruno in Bruno's first fight in
Yeah,
the tournament, and now they're giving him a second chance. What's the logic behind giving them second chances? You know, in the tournament.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Say that one more time. The guy that beat Bruno.
No, the guy that lost to Bruno by
Okay.
knockout.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Right? He lost to Bruno in the first round.
I thought they already had like all the guys in this tournament already paired up and matched.
No. That was remember that I was telling you that there was like one slot left in the 16
Oh yeah.
man tournament, and we were talking about how who it should be, but then they announced this fight to kind of fill that slot, and now they're giving this guy, Seung Kim, his nickname is the Keyboard Warrior, another shot, but he got knocked out by Bruno. So it's kind of, to be honest with you, that's not fair to Bruno. It's not fair to any of the guys that lost.
No, I don't think so at all.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up, right? It's not like he should be getting special treatment. I don't understand the logic behind putting him in the tournament again and giving him another chance when the other guys, they lost. How come they don't get a chance? And he got knocked out in the first round. We got a special guest today. His name is Joe Ray. What's going on, Joe?
Hey, what's up, fellas? What's going on?
And then we got my co-host, George Hickman.
Chiba. Chiba.
Oh, Chiba. All right. This guy's speaking different languages and shit. We don't even know about him. He's a mystery, right? But anyways, the reason why we got Joe on the podcast today is because there has been some actually in the first podcast that we did, we talked about this, about Battlefield, and how Jeff Glover, he made a video the day after the event saying that he got IOUs from the promoters and he didn't get paid and things like that. And then just recently, last week, an article came out saying that most of the fighters didn't get paid yet, right? And Joe Ray is one of those fighters. So we want to kind of like get into exactly what happened. So Joe, how did you originally get contacted to fight for the organization?
So a friend of mine sort of organized it, and then another friend of mine, Ray Elby, was the one who kind of, I guess him and Tommy, more or less, were kind of organized it. And then so that came about, and then that's how, like, it opened up through a friend of mine, and then Jay and Tommy handled the rest of it.
So when, like, you're going through your friends, which is Ray Elby and Tommy Yang, right? Those are the guys that kind of organize what's going on. And did they come at you with like a contract? Or what happened?
I mean, I did. Yeah, I signed a contract. Pretty standard. It was very generic details in it, and basically fighting here for us, and that's it.
All right, so
it had the money, and then I think it had the opponent, and that was pretty.
So basically,
the weight on it to be in.
Nothing like too, hard to understand. It's just basic contract. You signed it. You're ready to fight. You're in fight camp.
Yeah, it was pretty cut and dry. It's just like, all right, here's the date and here's the money. And any I fought in a lot of different countries. Anytime I've shown up, they pay you in cash. So there's like no debate about it. Like that's pretty much the commonly accepted practice, in those shows. Cash, and then you go on your way. I guess people say that there's a couple shows out there that give you, they write you a check or they do bank wires, but they tell you that ahead of time so you can plan accordingly. I had no idea, and everybody else on the card had no idea either, from what I gathered just from talking to different people.
All right, so when you get to the event, right? You arrived on a few days before the actual event. Was there anything leading up to the event that was kind of like you noticed that was fishy, that you thought like this is kind of odd?
No, not at all. I mean, it was their first show, so like there was a few things that nothing really stood out though. It's just like organized, but not. What I'm saying? Not really. It's just everything seemed fine to me. From what I had no idea, like no suspicions or anything. That wasn't even a thought in my mind, to be honest. I was going to show up and then focus on that. So I just didn't even cross my mind really.
All right. So the night of the fight, you fight, the event's over. Take us through how you found out that you weren't going to get paid that day.
So as I was heading up to her, we just got before, and then I hit up one of the guys there, Peter, who's high up in the company. I forget exactly his title. I was handing. So he said that I said, "Hey, when are we going to get paid? Do we get paid down here? Are you going to come up to our rooms?" And then he was kind of looked at me like, style. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna wire. You'd have to give us your bank account details, and then we will send you in like 14 days." And I was like, I mean, it might have. We looked at each other and we were just like, did I just hear that properly? And then, yeah, he insisted that, yeah, 14 days, blah, blah, blah. Very taken back by that. And I had a few words for him, I was kept it very professional. Get paid now. I think this is done, and you never said anything to us about this. And so, it's not right, basically. And not those words, but more or less that was the theme of the conversation.
So did that happen on the night of the event or the next day?
No, that was the night of the event. So that, yeah, and I sent him my details right away. I mean, I reluctantly sent him my details. I didn't want to do that, but I felt like I really had no choice. I talked with him for like 5 minutes, and seemed like there was no on the matter. So I was like, all right, whatever. I just sent my details, and then we could get this maximum that we would be paid, like absolute maximum.
So far, so the next day, did you have any interactions with like Tommy or with the guy Peter or whatever?
So I hit up, I hit up Tommy immediately, and I was like, "Yo, what is going on here?" And he was kind of hard to get a hold of at first because he was probably getting blown up left, right, and center. Like everybody was blown to his phone. So, he was just like, he basically told me that he had no idea of that was the case. Like he assumed that we were going to get paid cash, and I tend to believe Tommy when he says that. So. And that's like, I reach out to him, and I don't remember if I talked to him the next day or what, but I was just kind of like, I was really taken back by the whole thing. We had booked to stay like 2 extra days, and I was planning on getting paid and having like being flush with cash and just being able to go out and do a few things that I wanted to do and accumulated, because obviously I haven't fought since February, and as people know, we get paid per fight. If we don't fight, we don't get paid. So I haven't fought since last February. So I had things that I needed to clean up and needed to take care of. It's kind of we were pretty creative in what we did for the next couple of days. We had managed to have a good time, and it was fun, but still it was pretty stressful because I didn't know if we were going to get paid. I had never heard of that. I'd never been part of that. I've heard people, some even getting stiffed. Like George even had an incident like that where he told me about it happened to him. It was like, took him a couple months to get paid. I don't know the circumstances surrounding that, but I'm part of that. So I was just kind of really uneasy about it and just stressed out. I didn't know if we were going to get paid. And I mean, I still don't, to be honest.
Yeah, George, could you kind of like elaborate on that one?
Yeah. Like last year when I fought in Rebel FC, it took probably, I want to say about a month and a half to get paid. My manager and I both were pretty, we both kept following up with the promoter, and eventually, I did get paid. And I later found out that some of the other guys they'd gotten paid like part of their purses and not the full, not the whole thing, which is, as a fighter, it's quite stressful under those circumstances. It's fighting is not like a glamorous lifestyle. So when you're like depending on that, that small amount of money to get paid, and you do, like Joe said, you have bills and you have different things that you accumulate over time, and you need to take care of those things. And not only that, but also gym fees and trainers and, diets. If you have a guy that does your weight cut, like we've talked about in the past, those things all cost money. It's not easy being a fighter. You have to take care of the people that take care of you, and everything costs money. So yeah, it becomes quite stressful. But I eventually did get paid. So, obviously, hopefully the same thing happens for Joe and the other guys that have fought for this promotion.
Well, Joe, like you haven't got paid. What is the financial situation you're in right now? If you don't mind talking about that.
Yeah, so we could use an analogy. Let's say we have a gas tank, right? So say I'm a car, and we look at my gas tank. You know the E button? It's probably hovering like right on the E. So I'm sitting right about now. So it's not financial situation is not great at the moment, to put it that way. So I was really dependent on this money to kind of, like I said, I haven't fought in a while, and I do little side gigs here and there, but nothing really, like that's my main source of income. So not great.
The event's over. You talk to him, or you left Korea. You go back to Thailand, right? Now, what is your interactions with the people from Battlefield?
Oh man, so I was basically kind of getting strung along. So first it was the 14 days. I was like counting down the hours for the 14 days to hit, and then coaching, and then they were basically like kind of went quiet. So I'm like, all right, well, I haven't heard anything. So I'm messing the message, and I'm like, all right, well, it's about to be 14 days. I think it was, I forget when exactly it fell on, but I reached out. I said, hey, this is, the 14th day. So, I'm not sure what time the bank's closed, but you have my information. Do you need anything else from me before you send my money? And I didn't hear anything. And then I was just real persistent. I kept blowing him up. And then he said, can you please wait till Tuesday? And I was pissed. And I was like, I didn't really have a choice at that point. So I can wait till Tuesday, but can you guarantee that it'll be, and then Tuesday rolled around, and then payment, and then it was something about, it's not going to happen today. It's coming through and it'll be tomorrow. And then, it was just one thing. It was basically more of this. And then at one point he just totally disappeared on me. And I just was basically sitting. I mean, I had and I didn't really have any answers or anything like that. So stressful. And then, and it was basically just wait, sit around and wait, hurry up and wait. I'm like, well, I mean, I need answers. Like they're saying they're having sponsorship issues, but that's not my problem. I mean, that's the obvious. It's not my problem. I didn't have a deal with them. I had a deal with Battlefield. I don't really what's going on with your sponsors. You guaranteed we have a contract. You guaranteed to pay me a certain amount of money. I showed up. I did my part. And then here we are. I'm left holding nothing in my hand. So and this was more than 6 weeks ago. It'll be, probably, about 6 weeks now.
So, so currently right now, what are they telling you?
So, apparently like they're going to get together and see what's going on. They're going to have like a meeting, and they're going to figure out some things and see. They said that for sure we're going to get paid, and they guarantee they're going to come up with some way to pay us. And I don't know. I mean, I think that I'm likely to, I believe them when I want to believe them when they say that, but at the same time, I mean, it could be just more of the same and just buying time. And I mean, I know that if they want to do another show, that they're going to have to pay us at some point. They're going to have to clean this mess up, but maybe they don't. Maybe they say, "Fuck it, this is too much," and they just fold up and just go away. And then in this case, we're probably not going to get paid, and they probably won't give a shit either way. So,
yeah,
I don't know, but as a it's. I pretty much kind of written it off, and I was like, all right, well, worst case, I don't get paid. Life goes on, and I move forward, and I just learn from this and track, because I never thought to put that standard practice is you just go there, they pay you cash, and then you go on, get on your plane, and go about your business. So, I mean, if worst case, I don't get paid, and I learn a lesson from it and move forward.
You know, your friends that actually kind of hooked you up with this fight,
Yeah.
right? Can they do anything for you? Are they doing anything for you right now?
I mean, they've been trying. Yeah, like Ray's been trying, and it's like nothing really. It's kind of, hands are kind of tied. I mean, we'll see. Like, we're kind of talking about a few things, but I don't know. I don't really want it to reviews and stuff like that, but we'll see. I mean, they say that they're gonna pay us, so I don't know, man. I mean, he's been hounding these guys, and they've just been kind of real quiet as of late. Like, as of late, they just started responding back and saying, "Oh, we're going to sort it out. We're going to sort it out." I think that they saw the bad publicity that it was receiving, so they probably want to clean it up, and they don't want to get their reputation damaged, I'm sure, any more than it already is. So,
from what I know is, like, Battlefield, they actually was another promotion before they were Battlefield.
Oh, were they? Oh, well.
Yeah. Their promotion was called Octagon Fighting Championship.
Okay.
And then they never had an event.
Oh, okay.
They never had an event at all. Yeah. They just never had an event, and then they changed the name to Battlefield.
Okay.
And they finally got it. They finally did their event. So, yeah. That's kind of odd to me too, that they had a name for it, and then they all of a sudden they changed it without even having an event, and then they changed the name to a name that another promotion already has. So it's weird. And in Korea,
with that name?
Huh?
Yeah, and
promotion with that name already?
Yeah.
What? Oh my God.
There's a Battlefield Fighting Championship in the States.
Oh man.
So yeah, that's why if you go to the Facebook page, you can't type in Battlefield in English and find their Facebook page.
Yeah, and I thought that was weird anyways. Like, why would do they not like fans or people following their event? Like, why would they? It's a simple fix. You just put it in, very hard to find.
Exactly.
But I don't know, though, man. I just don't get it, because why would they pay half the fighters and then not pay? I mean, I don't get it. I'm sure that their intentions are good, and that they're having sponsorship issues, but at the same time, it's not my problem. Nothing to do with that. So they need to do the right thing, and they, if they're such a successful businessman like they claim to be, then however many thousands of dollars just come out of pocket and then sort it out later. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Who knows what's going on over there, man?
When you were there, you met a lot of rich businessmen, right? In the back.
Exactly. Yeah, successful businessmen. Okay, whatever. Well, I mean, at least you could just come dig in those pockets and pay the fighters and
maybe they could sell the watch that they were flashing on you and shit.
Yeah, right. Come on, man. They'll probably cover everybody's salary with that watch.
Yeah, so
go put that thing
they have you in such a it's so hard to like be in your situation, because it's not like you live in the same country, and it's not like you know the laws and the courts of that country, so it's very difficult to kind of really do anything, sitting from where you're sitting, except for like kind of have hope that these guys come through and pay you what you deserve.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple things I could do, but it's not going to get me my money, and I don't really want to say what it is. It's like a gray area, so I don't really want to the moment, but it's like, I don't think that's going to get me my money either, but it's like something that could happen, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, what Igor's manager was saying is that they're thinking about suing them, but if you go to Korean court, it takes so long to do anything in those courts that by the time you get to the end, it would probably not even be worth it to fight through all of that nonsense, right? So
plus you got to go on how that works. If like they pay legal fees and blah 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 blah. And, I don't know. know, Korean law. It's like, who the fuck knows, man?
Well, what
You
I
know?
know is that if you're suing somebody in Korean court and like you have a court date and then you have to actually be at the court to sue them and they have to be there too. And if
Yeah,
they don't show up to the court
yeah.
date, then they just delay it. So
Oh, yeah,
they could like say, "Oh, we set a date for this day to meet in court to, to argue this this dispute that we have." But then the guy doesn't show up, then they just delay it. And then the
yeah.
guy doesn't show up, they just delay it. So
Like
so
a
the court
complete
system's kind of
nightmare.
fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not a
that
good
sounds like
situation.
shit.
Yeah, it is. It's a clusterfuck. So
Yeah.
it's so what is your plan now? Like you must be thinking about the future, because
Yeah.
you're a very positive dude. You're trying to be positive about the situation. You're not like, most people would be f-bombing all over the place and just about to throw the computer
Yeah. I
across
mean,
the room. So
yeah. I mean, thoughts, but it's like, it's not, I don't go, just not to waste energy on things that are out of my control. As of now, this is not really out of my control. I can look to find a solution instead of just bitching about the problem. Yeah, it sucks, but it's already happened, and this is the situation I'm in. So I just have to make the best out of it. Maybe I can learn something from it. Maybe I can find a different solution. But that's how I try to live my life. I try to take a positive from everything. It's like something's a failure. You take something, maybe it's not a failure, and just try to stay positive. Just look at the bright side of things, and you got to be realistic about it. Yeah, it sucks. I'm out of pocket. I'm out of money out of my pocket, but at the same time, could be worse. Life is pretty good, so whatever. We'll see. I'm just going to continue to train. I'm going to look to stay busy this year. I want to fight maybe in June. I'm thinking have something booked for July. Just have to finalize it, but something for July, maybe early July, and then busy. Just keep doing what I love to do, man. I love being out here in Thailand. It's a great lifestyle and great people around, and just good experiences. So that's what I plan on doing for the remainder of the year, anyways. And then I'll probably go home like for the holidays. So if I could get paid for this fight, it'd be great. If not, it's not the end of the world, and I'll look for a solution. If I can't find one, then the show goes on, and that's that. So,
all right. Well, let's leave on a positive note. That
all right.
you're thinking about the future, and you get paid. And I hope deep down inside, I hope for real that you get paid, man. Because if you already did a
Yeah.
job, you gotta get paid. So
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I hope so as well.
especially in the sport that you're in, every penny counts. So
Yeah, big time.
yeah, so yeah, thank you for joining us. I know
Thank
you're
you.
Yeah, for
you're
sure.
a busy man, doing your things in Thailand. So and
Yeah, no doubt. Hey,
thank you for doing this,
thank you guys for having me.
all right.
Of course, Joe.
All right, you have a good luck to you.
Hey, George,
Bye.
later.
Yeah, George, that I know you're pretty close to Joe, so it should,
Yeah, man.
you probably
I
know a lot
speak
of
to him.
stuff. You probably know a lot of
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
that Joe's not talking about, and
yeah. I speak to him, every day. Joe, I'm his coach. He trains with us. Um, he is a very positive guy, and it's because I know the financial strain that he's in, so it's I feel bad for the guy. I try to help him out any way I can, and the gym helps supports him, and uh, yeah, he's he's a positive guy, man. Like, obviously he wants to get paid, but he doesn't bitch and complain a lot, and it'll be all right. He has a positive outlook on everything, and he'll, whether he gets paid or not, obviously, hopefully he does, but he'll do what's necessary to keep moving forward and progressing.
yeah, he has a great attitude, and hopefully that attitude pays off, man. And literally, hope it pays off. for him. So, all right. So let's move on to some let's continue the negativity, right? And talk about the fighter Julian Wallace, right? He was recently spotted training at Jackson's MMA in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the UFC women's not flyweight but strawweight Beck Rawlings, she posted that, how can you have this basically woman beater training at your gym and that it's a woman beater. So if you're, say, like at your gym, a guy comes in and that I think he was convicted, right, of beating his girlfriend. If you know this, even no matter like if he's one of the top 10 in the world, would you still train with that guy?
I think and today, like, social media is like a very powerful thing. So knowing, because I've never met the guy. I know people who have trained with him. I have friends that have trained with him, and like, as of like about a year ago, the guy that I'm referring to, like posted a photo with him because he had trained with him and was like, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But later, I think obviously found out differently about him. And I don't know the guy, but even having that like rap, it's not a guy that I would want at our, training at our gym. So, obviously like what she had said, I can understand that. And being the head coach at a gym, in a big gym at that, I wouldn't want to have someone training with us that would, that's like promoting our gym, but at the same time, it's bringing a negative light to the gym. So yeah, for sure. No, I understand that 100%.
Yeah, I've talked to some guys that are from Australia and that train out in Australia, and they're saying that they do not like this guy. Like if that guy comes around, that he's gonna have problems. And even people from Australia even say that. So I'm thinking like if people from his area are talking about him in that negative manner, it's most likely a lot of the stuff that comes out, maybe not 100% of it's true, but
Right.
a lot of
But
it probably is true.
Yeah, I mean, even if not 100% true, like there's still, there's still something there with it, and it brings negative attention to the gym. Wherever it is that he's training. Obviously, he was training at Jackson's, and other people are tweeting about it. The guy's not even in the UFC. He's still fighting on like small promotions. And when you have people like doing stuff like that, it's it has an impact, and it's for me, it's not something that I would want to bring to a Tiger Muay Thai, or have that kind of like reflection from him being at our gym.
Remember when he first got some internet fame was when he tried to punk Ben Nguyen.
Yeah, and
before their title fight.
Yeah, Ben Nguyen was a Tiger guy too. That video went viral.
Yeah,
and Ben, I wasn't here at the time. I came, I think, shortly after that. But Ben thumped him, and that video, like, was viral. And it's probably one of the reasons like Ben's in the UFC. Obviously, he's a good fighter, but that obviously helped a lot as well. But it just it's the things that people have said that he's done, obviously are pretty shitty things. But yeah, he's not a guy that I would want to have at Tiger Muay Thai. Wherever he goes, there's always, he's always going to have that like stigma attached to his name. And, he was at Alpha Male and there were problems when he was there. And now he's since left and gone home. And, I hear stuff because we have a lot of Australian fighters and a lot of customers from Australia. So I hear things here and there about that, that stuff. But it's just, it's not a good situation. It's definitely not a guy that I would want that, whether or not he's a good fighter, wherever he goes, he's always going to have that stigma attached to his name. And it's going to be negative attention to the gym. So, or the coach is working with him as well.
I was reading something about some, like since Beck Rawling was kind of putting them on blast. And then I was reading something about somebody wrote that Jackson Winklejohn, MMA, they don't really care about those things. The reason why is because they got John Jones.
Yeah.
And John Jones hit and ran on a pregnant woman.
Yeah, maybe that's the place for him then. Who knows? Like, because obviously it's reading those things in the media. So who really knows? But it's just for me personally, and I know like the rest of the staff at our gym and the management and the owners, it's just not something that we would want to have. And even I've had fighters in the past come there that I've heard things about, but it was nothing ever that like went in the media or anything like that. And I've said to them like, hey, listen, I don't mind if you train here, but please do not bring any kind of drama or any kind of negative stuff to our gym. Because at that point, if it was something that like if someone was like representing us, whether or not they were like sponsored or whether they paid to train, if it was bringing something negative to us, I would just say, hey, listen, you can't train here anymore.
Well, that's a good stance for for the head coach to come out and say those types of things. It kind of sets a standard for all the other fighters in the camp, wherever you go. So I'm pretty sure even like at Alpha Male, they probably didn't know that he had this, rap back in Australia, because Australia is all, halfway around the world, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
they probably didn't know nothing about him. So he just came in, he fought in Australia, and they just started training, because he probably, that's what they do. And once they found out that he had this little situation back in Australia with his ex-girlfriend, then that's when he had to bounce. And I don't know, it's just this guy, I don't see any camps, why would they even let him in there? I don't understand, but who knows? He'll find somewhere to train. I'm pretty sure there's gyms everywhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. Someone will take him in. I've heard that he since left Jackson's, but somebody like that there'll always be somewhere around the world that will take them in.
For sure. Yeah, moving on. Also some other drama is the Brian Stann versus Cyborg drama that's been going on in the media, right?
Yeah.
And Brian Stann. You're close with Brian Stann. So he was a training partner, he was a coach. So, the comments that he made about Cyborg, from knowing him, how do you feel about those comments?
Brian's a very calculated individual. He doesn't. He's. I joke like with him and other people that know him, like he's a guy that he's someone that I look up to, who I consider like a good friend, but someone more so than just a friend that I always looked up to when I was with him. But Brian's a guy that whether or not it doesn't matter how close you are to him, he's always going to let you know how he really feels, and that's something that I think a lot of times in in our culture and in many different cultures, like you don't want to. Sometimes we sugarcoat things, and you don't want to because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. And he's one of those guys that like he's very he doesn't do that, and it's a good thing. It's something that should be done more in our society. And he does not sugarcoat anything, so you always know where you stand with him. And everything that he says is like, he's a very intelligent guy. So I think that with that, everything, that he said, he had a reason for saying that. He's not just going to say it if he doesn't have actual information and facts. So like Brian's the type of guy that is like, he goes off of facts. And, I read all the stuff online that came out. I haven't spoke to him about it, but I would imagine that everything that he said is probably true.
Basically, he calls her out, right, about the weight cut, and and like dealing with her is not the not the easiest thing to do. And when you met Cyborg not too long ago,
Uh,
did you
yeah, I
meet
met
her
her. Yeah, I met her in Korea.
in
I
Korea, right?
just said hello, and she like I think I don't even remember what she asked me. Maybe it was about something with the fighters and the pay, but yeah, I didn't like speak to her in any type of length or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, the thing about this is that Brian Stann, he's never been, like I said, like you said, he's never been the type of guy that will make things up
No,
because
not at
he's
all.
never been in this situation, right?
They call him like the like best living American or something like that. There's like a
Yeah.
running joke, or
It's
the greatest living American or something like that. Like the guy should run for president.
for sure. And the thing about it, this is like she comes back and she says that Brian Stann's a racist.
Which
I
he's
think,
the furthest thing from that.
yeah, and because of I think she posted a video of his fight against Vanderlei Silva, which was his last fight in the UFC before he retired, saying that, oh, now I know why you don't like Brazilians. And just and it's not like he's ever attacked a Brazilian before.
No, not at all. He's got like Brazil, like he used to have Brazilian coaches. Like when we train in Atlanta, the gym was predominantly at his gym. Like well, the way that it was set up, like when we were training, it was there was like Brian, myself, and a couple other white guys, and then a bunch of Brazilians that we were all friends and training partners in Atlanta area, like the Assunção brothers, the Lima brothers, uh, Ron Carneiro. Like there were a lot of Brazilians. So to say that like he was racist against Brazilian is ridiculous.
For sure. And the the stuff that he was saying about like how the UFC paid for George Lockhart to stay with her, to
Right?
cook
Like
with for her.
yeah, he George Lockhart is one of his like very very good friends. Like I remember, like I'm good friends with George Lockhart. I speak to him, um, quite often, especially if I have a fight coming up. Because he does my diet for me and stuff. But he's very good friends with Brian. Like he used to train with us there in Atlanta, um, and that was like when that was 4 or 5 years ago. Before like when George wasn't even like he was still like he was doing diets for guys in the UFC, but he wasn't like a Mike Dolce at the time. Now he's probably like the number one guy, I would think. But that was like Brian's known him a long time, like not only from fighting, but they were in the Marine Corps together, so he has a long standing relationship with him. So
Oh,
I would I would think that he definitely and they're still friends. So I would think that he obviously he knows what's going on.
for sure. Yeah, I didn't know that they had that long of a history together.
Yeah, yeah, very
That
good friends. Like George, he used to train with us all like every day. Like when we trained, because we all trained together Monday through Friday in the morning time. It was and then we all had our own separate gyms that we went to in the afternoon or in the evening. But George was always there. He was always around, and he's George is not a guy that would make something up either. He's a very honest. He's probably one of the nicest people I know, man. He's like, sometimes he's too nice. He's just an awesome human being. So anything that he would say to Brian would be true.
for sure. The yeah, this whole thing of the basically Brian Stan is just kind of like explaining his experience, not really attacking, just explaining his experience, right? Giving his opinions. And then you got Cyborg on the other side going on social media and basically attacking Brian Stan. And I don't know if Brian Stan responded to any of these attacks. Most
Yeah,
likely not.
yeah. I didn't see. I'm not sure. I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it because once she talked about like uh she posted that he hates Brazilians and all this stuff, you never really saw anything Brian, anything about Brian Stan responding to any of those things. And I'm pretty sure he's probably not going to respond to that.
It's the type of
You
guy
know.
he is. Like he's not gonna. I would imagine that he probably won't. Like he'd probably say it in the interview, but like if you look at like Ron Carneiro, who's in the UFC. He's Brazilian. He lives in Atlanta, has a gym in Atlanta. He just posted a photo, like I just liked it in the last like 2 weeks, and it was a photo of Brian, like them training together, and just like saying what an awesome guy he is, and you know that they still train together and stuff. So yeah, that is he doesn't see color, bro. He sees like the individual and the person, like you know he doesn't judge by color for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, other news in the UFC is you know, another longtime veteran and Frank Mir, right? He just got banned by USADA for, you know, 2 years. And this is from, you know, from back when he lost to Mark Hunt. And he tested positive for some metabolites of a banned substance. And what he was saying is that he spent $30,000 of his own money testing supplements to figure out which supplement was tainted. And I don't think he ever figured it out because USADA suspended him for 2 years. Now what he's saying is that he is most likely going to have to go fight somewhere else. And then he said that he wants to maybe fight in Japan. That's always been a dream of his. So if you look at the promotions in Japan that are, you know, able to take on or accept Frank Mir, there's only one promotion in Japan, which is Ryzen, because they took on Krokov, and Krokov was suspended by USADA also, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of potential matchups do you see at Ryzen for Frank Mir?
Well, I think it's like the perfect promotion for him because of like Krokop and stuff. What he could go there, you know, fight Mola Wall. There's a lot of guys. The Iranian that trains at AKA here in Thailand.
Amir?
Yeah, Amir, the wrestler. You know, he's been making waves recently in Ryzen as well. So there's definitely like you know, potential matchups for him. But I think that's like, you know, Mir's kind of older now, and that's like a promotion that he could definitely fight in. You know, he's been around for a long time. And I think a lot of the guys, other than Mola Wall and Amir, who are like, you know, newer guys in the sport, I think there's a lot of like potential for the older guys to fight in that promotion. Because in Japan, man, it's not like it's a show, you know. It's like Asian shows and MMA, like Asian MMA, like the shows are really good, and I think that it definitely is like, you know, somewhere that he could fight and do well. Obviously, get paid well, but also, you know, the fans would be interested in that kind of stuff.
Like when I see like Chael Sonnen and Wanderlei Silva and those types of fighters fighting in Bellator, I really don't like it. And the reason why I don't like it is because I look at Bellator as trying to become a competitor to the UFC.
Right.
And when they have fights like Wanderlei Silva versus Chael Sonnen, it's not really what you want to see. That's the type of fight that you want to see in Ryzen.
Right. Send all the old guys, like let them take steroids, whatever. Just send them all to Ryzen and let them do it.
Exactly. Even Vitor. I want to see Vitor in Ryzen.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I want to see TRT, Juice to the Gills, Vitor versus
not in Bellator.
TRT, Juice to the Gills, Wanderlei.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that.
Why not? Because they know that both of them, they know that they're juiced. So if you're going to be juiced, you might as well both be juiced and then just go at it. And it's a fair playing ground, right?
Yeah.
Everything's out in the open.
I agree for sure with that. Just send them all to Ryzen and let them do it.
And also Frank Mir, he can fight Krokov because remember, Frank Mir beat Krokov. He knocked out Krokov. So, you know, let them juice too. You make the juice league.
Yeah, it's the old man league.
Exactly, the old man league, the Legends League, the Juice League, whatever.
The Legends League. Didn't Vitor just say that recently in the like media? Like, let all the guys, like all the old guys, fight each other and stuff. Send them all.
Why not? I think that those types of guys, they need to leave the UFC I don't think they should be there anymore. I think there's so many young guys that could fill those spots that
Yeah.
are coming up, that these old guys are just sitting in these spots because they have the name, but really they're not doing nothing for themselves. So let them go somewhere else and fight each other over and over
Right.
again.
Don't be a gatekeeper. Just like move on and have a promotion for where, you know, when you're old with a big name, you can go.
Yeah, like Chael versus Vitor.
Oh,
There's so many fights. So many different weight classes they could fight in. It's that light heavyweight division would be pretty stacked if you let them go to Ryzen and fill it up.
Yeah, it would be so good.
Yeah, it would be fun. It would just be fun. Everybody would love it. Ryzen would get, you know, they'll grow so much from those, you know, they could do cards in the States if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But oh no, they can't. Because if they do it in the States, then the commission will be involved and they'll test these.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Keep it in Japan.
Keep it in Japan and go to Russia.
Yeah, or Russia.
Talking about testing, right? When you have fought in Asia, right, do they test?
No, I was never tested.
Never tested.
No, I was never tested. When I fought in Art of War, only one guy on the card was tested, and he failed.
That is weird. How did that happen?
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
and the guy that
it was the one guy that we all thought if anyone got tested and he got tested, like we were like, oh, someone gets tested and fails, it's going to be him. And sure enough, it was the one guy that got tested and the guy that failed.
Yeah, actually, I remember that. I remember what you're talking about. I forgot the fighter's name, but I actually contacted him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, after that news came out that he got popped.
Did he comment back?
Yeah, he commented back and said that, you know, it's all bullshit. And then nothing ever happened after that.
Well, apparently he didn't get his win bonus, or not. Well, he didn't get his. He got like fight of the night or knockout of the night or something like that. But apparently he didn't get that. So.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, he was the one guy, bro. He was quite a character.
Oh, was he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because wasn't he the main event?
Yeah, he was the main event. He was fighting the English guy.
Yeah.
And he like knocked him out with like a left hook or something, like in the first like 30 seconds or something like that.
Did he look like he was, you know, did he look like Geronimo dos Santos?
Yes, bro. He did look like Geronimo dos Santos. He was like, I even gave him like my plastic suit to like lose weight in, because it was like I took it, but I just took it in like precaution, because like, you know, you're fighting up a weight class. Like Art of War is like really no cutting weight. So like I literally would like work out and be like on weight or underweight and then go eat. And then I'd go to bed and wake up on weight. And I'm pretty sure like 95% of the fighters were doing the same thing. Because the guy who owned the promotion was friends with the guy, I don't remember his name, that died in the 1FC cutting weight. So he didn't want people cutting weight. And he like rocked up and like I hadn't even read his contract, and like I gave him like my rubbers to like lose weight, and he like gave them back to me the next day, and he had like cotton mouth and stuff, and he was just like, oh, I didn't even need them. And I was like, me and my corner guy, we like looked at each other and we're like, who are you trying to fool? Like you clearly look sucked out, like your cheeks are sunken in, you got bags under your eyes, you got cotton mouth, like you're not kidding us. So anyways, yeah,
that's funny that you know that we brought that up. Is because that guy, I remember I contacted him, he was like, man, it's bullshit. That's all he said. It was bullshit. That's it. He's like, well, I'll let you know.
Did you message him like on email or something, or did you actually speak to him on the phone?
No, I messaged him.
Oh, okay.
And he just responded like, it's a lie, bullshit. And then that's it. After that, there was nothing else, you know, being mentioned. But yeah, that's Frank Mir, Ryzen, you know, there's so many things that could happen with Ryzen, and we could talk about it all day, you know, like so many matchups that you can make. Krokov versus who, and Frank Mir versus this guy, and the young guys coming up like Amir, who I think Amir will eventually become the top heavyweight in this region. If not, he already is.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then one of those. I think one of those guys, like eventually Bellator or the UFC is gonna come and try to snatch him up
Yeah.
before Ryzen puts him into some long-term contract or something, because the heavyweight division is not a deep division in any promotion. So unless you make the Legends League, then you can just deep as
The Legends League would be awesome.
it would be. Yeah. Another thing is in Asia, some news that came out in the past couple of days is the Korean fighter Song Ga-Yeon. She joined Evolve MMA. So from what they were saying is that she went through a 2 week kind of like a tryout type thing, and she passed, and they saw the potential of her becoming a great fighter, so they signed her, and she's a paid member of Evolve MMA. Now the crazy thing about this story is that she hasn't fought in a few years. She basically kind of just disappeared from the MMA scene after becoming kind of not a superstar, because everybody's saying that she's this fucking superstar, but a lot of fighters don't even know who the fuck she is. If fighters don't know who you are, you're not a fucking superstar.
Yeah, for sure.
Not even close, right? And a lot of fighters, they don't even know who she is, right? The only people that know who she is people in Korea, and the people kind of like,
yeah, I've never heard of her.
Yeah, if I ask a lot of fighters, they probably never heard of her. And these fighters live in Asia and they fight for Asian promotions, right? So
Yeah,
her story is
I saw something on Facebook, like where she or the thing that Evolve put out that she was going there.
Yeah. So. Well, basically what she is she's like the Paige Van Zandt of Korea.
Of Korea.
Of Korea, yes. So this is her story. In the beginning, she was recruited, right, by Road FC. And she started out as a ring card girl. So if she starts out as a ring card girl, she looks good. Yeah. Right? Because they would never pick some like random ass, plain Jane and shit and put her as a ring card girl. So yeah, she looks pretty good, right? But her intentions were not to become a ring card girl. She wanted to become a fighter. So she joins one of the teams in Korea. So basically what she does is she joins the Road FC team, their MMA team, which one of them is located in Seoul. And she starts training. And she signs a contract with Road, and then she signs another contract with an entertainment company. Kind of like a CCA or CAA, one of those companies for like movie stars and singers and stuff like that. She signs one of those contracts because they saw the potential of her becoming bigger than just a fighter. Kind of like a Ronda Rousey or a Paige Van Zandt type, before she even stepped into the cage, before she even fought, they already signed her to all of these contracts, right? So her goal, from what I know, is her goal was to be a fighter, but the company's goal was not for her to become a fighter. The company's goal was to basically put her on TV and become kind of like the face of Road FC. And that's not what she wanted to do. So, and if you're a fighter, you have to train a lot. You can't just like train like twice a week, 3 times a week and expect to fight. And when she went out there, well, they had her going on like reality shows and doing commercials and TV and stuff like that. And when you're doing those things, you can't train.
Yeah.
And in her eyes, she's like, I gotta train because I'm a fighter. I need to fight. I have a fight coming up. So she won her first couple fights, right? But then after her first couple fights, because she won, she became a bigger star in Korea. You might not know who she is, but in Korea, those little, people that follow TV, they, she had some like fans, right? A lot of fans. Then she gets to the point where she has another fight. So if she keeps winning, she becomes a bigger star. Ronda Rousey, Paige Van Zandt, basically, right? So she actually fights somebody that has some, professional MMA fights, that, trains, and she gets beat. After she gets beat, she disappears. The reason why she disappears is because now she's in a dispute with the companies over her contracts, and she wants to be a fighter. She doesn't want to be on TV anymore. She doesn't want to be doing all this other shit. She wants to just train and fight because she wants to win. She wants to become a star, or a star as in like a MMA star, not like a TV star.
Yeah.
So the past couple of years they've been going to court.
And has she fought in the past couple of years?
No, she hasn't fought. From what I know, she had been in the States the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, training in the States or something like that. Because she's locked into contracts.
Sounds like Evolve has the same idea.
Spectacle.
Yeah.
Spectacle eyes right there. Is that maybe Evolve has the same similar, like you said, similar ideas of what they want to do with her. But who knows? Who knows what their ideas are? Maybe she is a better fighter now. Maybe because she hasn't been fighting and she's been training the whole time, and she has elevated her skills.
But she still has to like get through these legal obstacles before she can fight, right?
Exactly. That's why her joining Evolve MMA is kind of like a weird thing, because she's locked into contracts with Road FC, to the entertainment company. So how is she going to fight for another promotion when she has these, unless somebody buys out her contracts?
Right. Well, which is very, very possible at Evolve.
Yeah. And also I know that ONE FC is trying to push themselves into Korea too.
Yeah.
They're looking at the potential of Korea as being one of the sites in the next couple of years, or maybe even next year or this year, to have an event, right?
Yeah.
And there's a big MMA, community out there that would probably go to the event and watch.
Oh,
especially if she's there fighting.
Right.
So there's more like details to the story, but that's basically the gist of, what's going on with that. And that's why if you look at the article someone wrote about her joining Evolve, they didn't mention nothing about that. They only mentioned that she's a superstar and, she's a cutie pie. And, there's no denying that she's a cutie pie, but.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it's just.
Very pretty girl.
Yeah, it's kind of like a situation where maybe it's like basically a Paige Van Zandt. She won her fights in the beginning when she was training full time, and then UFC kind of saw that and said, hey, why don't you go on this TV show, and why don't you do this TV show, and why don't you do these commercials, and now she's not training as much, and what happens to her? Michelle Watterson beats the brakes off that ass. Right? And somebody else beat her too, I think, before that. I'm not for sure. But yeah, that's what, if you're not, you're a fighter, you're a coach, you're in the sport deep.
Yeah, that stuff's all, it's that stuff is all, but I think, the higher that you get up, and the more you win and the more status that you get, it becomes part of the job. But obviously, like for this girl, like I don't think at that level it's, that kind of stuff comes into play. But I think definitely, like being in the UFC, if you have a big name and a big following, and the main thing is if you're marketable, all that other stuff comes with it. I think the higher you get up, the more media obligations you have to do, and the more, they probably see like being able to market you and other things. So it comes with it. But for someone like that, I guess maybe in Korea, she could be a big name, but obviously a lot of people don't know who she is outside of Korea. So, but who knows why Evolve signed her, or, what they have in store for.
Well, the thing is, before she could even develop her fighting ability, she was already pushed into the TVs and all that stuff. Like other fighters, they've been training for years and years fighting, and then they get up to that level, and then they do the TV and they do that. So they could kind of maintain, their skills. But with her, she was so young. I think she was only like 19 years old.
Oh wow.
18 years old when she got thrown in there like that. And now she's like in her early 20s. I see potential in her.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I see potential in her. I think she could be a good fighter if she gets trained by the right coaches. And Evolve is a good team, so they have good coaches. They have good training partners. They have Angela Lee. They have that Brazilian strawweight. What's her name? Nicolini. You know, if she
Yeah.
could get there in there and train with those girls and elevate herself, she could become the next star. Because they did it for Angela Lee. You know, so we'll see what happens with her. But you never seen her fight, right? So it's kind of like you're giving a viewpoint, a good viewpoint of somebody that never seen her. But if I gave you the article and said, "Hey, read this article about this girl," and you're reading and you're like, "She's a superstar." When did that happen?
Right.
Right? So I don't know. I don't mean to like shed on her too much, but this is reality. If you're gonna fight in a cage, you gotta you gotta be training and you gotta have your head straight. You can't think like you can't be having reality TV shows and doing all kinds of other shit.
Right. And contract disputes.
Exactly. That's legal matters right now. It's going crazy over here. Like they're blasting text messages online. Like they're putting their actual text messages that they texted each other online so everybody can read it.
That's so crazy.
It is. So, and it's between her and the CEO, or not the CEO, the president of the company. Their text messages is all blasted online. And she's
The
blasting
owner,
them
oh,
online,
in
and
the
he's putting
in the
some
Bentley,
online. Yeah.
the guy with the white Bentley.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you could read that shit. Everybody could read it. It's online, but it's in Korean, so it's
Yeah, I'm not reading that, bro. I'm not Google translating that.
yeah, it's too long. It's really long, man. It's
Yeah,
really,
I can just get you to give me the gist of it.
for sure. Um, the moving on, the what is it? Just last weekend they had what is it? Malaysian invasion in Borneo,
Yeah.
and like I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not really that educated on Malaysian invasion. You probably know more than me
Yeah, I went
about
there.
what goes on.
Yeah, the guys used to come to Tiger before. We had like a deal with them where they would come to Tiger and train to get ready, like the finalists of it. And it's a really well ran show. You know, I went there before. I cornered actually Kai Kara France fought I think in the main event like probably 2.5 years ago. But the show, so I was at the show, and it was all amateur fights and one professional fight or two professional fights, and it was a really well ran show. There was a lot, like it was a packed arena as well, so it was definitely a good show. But basically, they do the Malaysian invasion because I guess the government feels that like the the generation of kids are becoming lazy and stuff, so they have like the tryouts in the mall, and then the finalists end up coming to Thailand to train, and then they fight the previous champions. Iman, who's in the ONE FC, he's a former Malaysian invasion guy, and one or two others as well. So they've had some guys that have become actually good fighters, but it's a pretty good ran show for sure.
Yeah, yeah. This weekend they're having another tryouts in Kuching, Borneo. I think it's called Kuching, Borneo. So if you're
Yeah.
out in Kuching, Borneo, maybe you
Check
should check that out at the mall. See people get punched in the face. Also, next week they have Kunlun Fight MMA 11. I think on Thursday, this Thursday, they have it in China, and in the main event they'll have Li Peng Zhang, who is the welterweight champion. He's gonna face Rodrigo Caporal.
Yeah, wasn't Li Peng Jing in the UFC before?
Yeah, he was in UFC. He won the Tough China.
Yeah, he's been I think on a tear recently here in Asia.
Yeah, he's been beating everybody, especially in Kunlun Fight MMA.
Right.
But Rodrigo Caparol, I don't understand why they would match him up with him. The reason why is because Rodrigo Caparol has been losing. He's lost. He was the guy that fought twice in the $1 million tournament and lost both times.
It's in China, bro. They want him to win.
That's true. They want him to win.
But
Also, they have a
Y2K Fairtex.
yeah, Y2K Fairtex. He's gonna fight on there. Crazy Horse Charles Bennett's fighting
Again?
Yeah, he's
Wow.
gonna fight in China again against a Chinese guy at featherweight. Y2K is gonna fight bantamweight against a Chinese guy, and
Look
Mike
for
Dubious.
Y2K. He's gonna do well. Mike Dubois is not fighting.
He's not.
No, it's been pushed back.
All right. Well, yeah, those guys are fighting. So if you're in that area, you should go check that out. Also, other stuff that's going down is in Japan. They got ZST 56 in Tokyo. They got SWAT 160 in Tokyo. If you're in Tokyo, check those out. Those are some good local Japanese MMA fights going down. But other than that, that's basically it until next time. So